This week on Christian World News.
To see human bones, to see the clothes of the people who lost their lives here. It just speaks to the brutality of ISIS.
We bring you to the killing fields of northern Iraq.
Plus, 3 Christian missionaries tortured and martyred in Turkey. Nearly 10 years later, their killers are still free while the families wait for justice. We'll talk with the wife of one of the victims.
And an illiterate underdog who rose from the slums to become a chess champion. See how God transformed her life in this true story, now in theaters.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 크리스천 월드뉴스입니다. 오늘은 이라크 이야기부터 시작해 보도록 하겠습니다. 이라크 북부 최전선은 IS와의 싸움이 계속 이어지고 있는 곳인데요. IS의 만행으로 끔찍하게 변해버렸다고 합니다. 박해받는 기독교인들도 많았습니다. 현장 취재를 한 Cbn 중동지국장 크리스 미첼과 함께 좀 더 자세한 이야기 들어보겠습니다.
Hi, this is Chris Mitchell, and we're just outside the city of Sinjar right now, and I'm stepping over the fence of what has become a mass grave site. There's 28 of these in this area, and I believe there were a number of killed here. 1,500 Yazidis in all were killed. Most of them were men, many others women and children. And the test for young boys was if they raised their arm and they had any underarm hair, they could be killed. We're here with Dave Eubank and his son Pete from the Free Burma Rangers, and they've been so kind to help us get here. And we're doing a story on what's happened in Sinjar, and we interviewed Dave about what's happened here, and one of the powerful things that he said, you know, this could be our daughter, this could be your daughter. This is just an atrocity. I have to say this is the first mass grave I've ever been to, and it's a pretty moving sight to see human bones, to see the clothes of the people who lost their lives here. It just speaks to the brutality of ISIS, but certainly these are not the first mass graves in history. There's been far, far too many of these kind of sites.
So, Chris, you were right outside of Sinjar,
right.
standing there. I mean,
Yeah.
what were you feeling?
Well, it was sobering. As I said there, I'd never been to a mass grave site, and I've certainly heard of them, saw pictures of them, but to be there, it was quite sobering. Not only to see, you can literally see human bones lying on the ground. What struck me even more than the bones were the clothes. When I saw clothes, I thought, well, these people, these are the clothes they had when they were killed by ISIS. Some of the bones had been smashed in. We talked to an eyewitness that was, as we were leaving, an eyewitness came by and told us he saw some of the buses drive up there, the people were taking off and then murdered. So it's a sobering reminder of how evil ISIS is and why they need to be stopped.
How close was ISIS to you at that point?
At that point, maybe about 1,000 yards away. We were in two places there.
Sniper distance.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, sniper distance, exactly. We're at 3 places there at the mass grave site, maybe a little further away. Later on, we went to a frontline position with ISIS, and they said about 1,000 yards away. Impossible sniper distance, certainly mortar distance, and we were also in a place near Bashika, another Yazidi village, and actually at that time, we were in mortar range, and there was 2 mortars that hit not too far from us, about 300 or 500 yards. But being on the front lines it's invaluable, I guess, to get a sense of what the battle that we're facing. It's not just there in Kurdistan. It could be on 23rd Street in New York City. It could be in Orlando. It's the kind of battle that we face right now.
Now, Sinjar.
Right.
Does ISIS still control most of that?
Sinjar has been liberated in November of 2015, but they're just, about... we were in a position about 3 miles outside the city, and that's where ISIS was about 1,000 yards away. And this is the battle line, the front line. The big thing, Wendy, right now is people preparing for the offensive against Mosul, which is Iraq's second largest city. That's going to be a huge next phase in the battle against ISIS.
The Iraqi people that you met there near Sinjar, do they have hope? Do they see themselves being able to get back to life as normal? Is that even possible?
Well, not like they had for maybe many years, maybe even decades. There's talk about actually having a new Sinjar. If you go into the city itself, it's devastated. And it looks like something out of a World War II when some of these cities were carpet bombed.
And we're seeing
right now, this is Christian. This is some footage from a Christian refugee camp. And their plight right now, Wendy, I think is really something that Christians need to know around the world, that they're now going into their third year of being a refugee outside of from ISIS, and they're losing hope. And right now, Christianity itself, as we've known it in northern Iraq, is in the balance because a lot of these people are getting so discouraged they want to leave. In 2003, there were over 1 million Christians in Iraq. Now there's maybe 200,000. So if they start leaving, I mean, Christianity itself. But there is signs of hope. We talked to a Catholic priest who said, you know, we need to be the salt and light for Iraq. And I think that's part of the good news that's happening.
Well, are Christians brave enough to go over there and help? Are there Christian groups there?
Well, there are Christian groups there. Samaritan's Purse is one of the people that we talked to, and they're helping with a medical clinic right outside of that refugee camp. There are Christian groups that are mobilizing prayer, and that's the one thing that Christians always ask for, I think, is people, please pray for us and so that we can be strong. The other thing I think that's important is to raise their voice for the Christian people there in northern Iraq. And I think too often the church has been silent. And another thing, Wendy, that there is a talk of a safe zone in the Nineveh Plains for Christians and other ethnic minorities. And one priest said to us, unless they have a safe zone, he doesn't think there's much of a future left of Christianity in northern Iraq because they're just afraid. They don't trust the government, and there's so many groups that really want to eradicate Christians.
You said something earlier about ISIS atrocities happening in New York, happening in different parts of our country, as we've seen. Is the solution to take care of them over there so they don't come over here?
Well, that's part of the solution. And I think what we were hearing right there, ISIS, as a military force in Syria and Iraq, is coming, they're going to have their own demise. And yet they're morphing into a group that will probably send thousands of fighters back to the U.S., back to Europe. So I think we're not going to see, the ideology certainly hasn't diminished. But as a fighting force there, it is ending. But we're going to see probably more terror attacks in the West.
Well, thanks for going to the front lines for us. And thanks for coming back safe.
Okay.
God bless you. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
George.
Wendy.
10년 전이죠. 기독교인 3명이 터키에서 끔찍한 고문을 당한 뒤 순교하는 사건이 있었는데요. 드디어 가해자들에 대한 판결이 나왔다고 합니다.
Now, a Turkish criminal court has finally sentenced the 5 men responsible to life in prison. The long overdue verdict sent shockwaves, but the fight for justice is not over. The men were living free until just a few days ago, and they are appealing the case.
2007년 4월 18일이었죠. 당시 순교한 선교사들 중에는 독일 시민권자인 틸먼 게스케도 있었는데요. 가해자들을 용서한 그의 아내 이야기도 함께 들어보시죠.
Days after the horrific event, Tillman's wife, Susanna, publicly forgave her husband's killers.
당시 이 사건으로 무슬림이 지배적인 터키가 크게 놀랐는데요. 틸먼 게스케의 아내 수잔나 게스케를 연결해 좀 더 자세한 이야기 들어보겠습니다.
Joining us via Skype is Susanna Geske. Great to have you on the broadcast. Susanna, how are you and the kids doing?
Thanks a lot. We're doing very well.
You know, the 5 men responsible for killing your husband have been sentenced to life in prison. How do you feel about this? 9 years later, you've been waiting for justice. How do you feel?
Actually, we feel released because we had so many years to wait for this final end. And last time we thought it was it. Now, this time they really made an end. So it's great to have it finished up.
Susanna, can you talk a little bit about the healing process that you have gone through the last 9 years?
Yeah, in the beginning, I really didn't know what happened to me, and I had lots of people around me, so they really helped me to go through all these different stages of this time. So the most of it, I was reading the Bible and praying and reading the Psalms, and especially Psalm 119 and Job. So and I had lots of people helping me through normal things, daily things, and then also to forgive people and to have established a new church really helped me. So
Do you ever think you will go back? Are you hoping to go back to Turkey?
Oh, yes. I'm only here because of my daughter.
And why do you want to go back? I mean, this is the land where 5 men killed your husband. Why do you want to go back?
Because I love the people there. I really love them, and I love the place. So I really want to go back there.
And the kids have all grown up in the last years. They're there in Germany, in college. Tell us real quickly how they're doing.
Oh, they're fine. My eldest is in Ankara, Turkey, studying their English teacher. My son is in Munich, doing well, and my daughter's here in Frankfurt with me, and she tries to finish high school.
Days after, as I mentioned, days after the attack, you publicly forgave your husband's killers. Susanna, what prompted you to do that?
Actually, it was the Lord Jesus Christ. They asked me to say something in the television, and I said I can't. But then I prayed a quick prayer, and I just heard the voice of the Lord say that, and I just did it. Christians across the Middle East today are suffering for their faith. You know what it's like to experience persecution firsthand. How do you pray for Muslims? Oh, I pray that they find the love of God, that they can see that God, Allah, that He is really love, and that He loves them as well. This is my biggest prayer.
Okay, Susanna, 9 years later, after a horrific act of murder against your husband, you still continue to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ in love. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast.
You're welcome.
영화 한 편 소개해드립니다. 놀라운 희망과 승리의 이야기를 담은 카트웨이의 여왕입니다. 이어서 영화 주인공의 이야기도 직접 들어보시죠.
The Queen of Katwe is a story about a poor girl's victory over unimaginable odds. Born in the slums of the African nation of Uganda without food or a book to read, Fiona Mutya's rise from poverty to international chess champion, well, it is nothing short of miraculous. Fiona told CBN's Ephraim Graham her success was part of God's plan all along.
I feel like everything that has happened right now is because of God who has been behind everything. Yeah.
So He had this plan for you.
Yep.
우간다 출신으로 체스 세계 챔피언이 된 피오나 무테 씨의 이야기를 궁금해하시는 분들도 많으실 텐데요. 지금부터 들려드립니다. 함께 만나보시죠.
To be African is to be an underdog in the world. To be Ugandan is to be an underdog in Africa. To be from Katwe is to be an underdog in Uganda. To be a girl is to be an underdog in Katwe.
Located in the shadows of the Ugandan capital of Kampala, Katwe is, in all sense of the word, a slum. It's a place where refugees were shooed because no one else wanted to live there. The place is a literal sewer. Crime is rampant, as is drug use and prostitution. Half of all teenage women are mothers. They say if you're born in Katwe, you die in Katwe.
Life in Katwe is very challenging, I would say, because the people who actually live in Katwe are people who have no choice. If they had a choice, they can't be in Katwe. And it's the only area that they can afford to be in. Sometimes it's hard even to explain how people really stay there.
Every day at 6 a.m., Robert Katende arrives here, a rundown structure that doesn't look too out of place here in Katwe. The building is called Agape Church, which is part of a U.S.-based ministry called Sports Outreach. Katende is the ministry director here.
I very much believe that, more especially when it comes to the children and the youth, everyone loves to play, for sure. But many times people are not given the opportunity. And some of these children always don't have a chance to even play because they are always struggling to survive.
As you can imagine, sports is heavy on the agenda here. The boys take quickly to soccer and dozens of children show up every morning. Many of them don't go to school. Some are orphans. Few are homeless. All looking for guidance in their own way.
So when they come, the first thing is to try to show that you really care for them. You are there for them. You play together. You encourage. So eventually they get to bond with you. And then you're able to direct them to some other life they have never seen.
While soccer is popular, there are drawbacks. It can be fast. It can be violent. So not everyone joins in. Robert noticed that and started thinking of other ways to get everyone involved. Finally, he thought of a board game so foreign, there's not even a word for it in his native language. Robert was going to teach this game to a bunch of kids who didn't even know how to read.
Whatever you go through on that board actually is what we go through in our daily life. It requires strategy, it requires abstractive thinking, it requires concentration, focus, time management, everything. Talk about any concept. We need it in our life.
And one day, while talking to slum kids about pawns and rooks and kings, Robert noticed something. A 9-year-old girl in a window.
The first day, I just took her like any other child. In fact, when she came, my first question was, how will she feel at home?
To say Fiona Mutya was a 9-year-old might be a bit of a misnomer. The truth is, no one knows how old she was. We know that she was born in Kotwe. We know her father died when she was about 3, possibly due to AIDS. And we know when she first appeared in the window, she had just walked several miles and was only looking for something to eat.
So that day, I remember I was very, very dirty. And I was always very, very hungry. So my brother came and told me about the chess program they always had. So that day I was able to learn chess and again even to get a meal.
Now, chess isn't an easy game to pick up. And when Fiona first started playing, she lost. A lot. But she still kept playing.
There was a boy who used to beat me every day. So one time I went to Coach Robert and he taught me how to defend that opening. So I went back to play this boy. When I played him, I happened to win him and he cried. From that day, that's when I said, I have to beat every boy.
And within that short time she had been in the program, I realized that there is something special with this girl. Like you could teach her something and she could easily pick it up.
What makes Fiona great, though, is that she has something that can't be taught. It's this instinct, this ability to see the right move many moves in advance, knowing that the wrong move could mean death. That's a lesson she learned growing up in Kotwe.
Sometimes the environment they stay in teaches them to be very aggressive because the life there is more like survival of the fittest. And she was almost more playing the same way. So it was just to calm her down. Not every time that's going to be attacking. You need to strategize, you need to plan well, get your pieces ready for that attack.
Within a year, Fiona was beating the boys at Agape Church, including Coach Robert. Soon she was visiting boarding schools and beating the kids there. Then she played university players and whipped them too. In 2007, 11-year-old Fiona Mutya won Uganda's junior championships and the national championships just a few years after that.
We shall live together, we shall live together, we shall live together someday.
Fiona Mutya is a Christian. It's a faith she learned at the Sports Outreach Mission, and it's one that's helped her survive in Kotwe.
When I went to chess program, I was not a Christian before. I stayed there and I listened to the story. It was so interesting, so I kept on remaining every day for the stories.
In 2010, 14-year-old Fiona flew to Siberia with Uganda's national team for the world's most prestigious tournament, the Chess Olympiad. It marked only the second time she had left the country, and it became the first time the world laid its eyes on the young chess prodigy.
There are many things which have happened to me which I can't believe. Before I joined chess, I was living just in the slum and I thought everyone lived that kind of life.
The morning after she flew back to Uganda, Fiona returned home to a hero's welcome. And soon, they came calling. The writers, the reporters. Her story has been told by CNN, ESPN, and there's a book about her life. She's toured America, spoken to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, met Gary Kasparov. Disney is making a movie about her life. Her future is bright.
Sometimes I feel like I'm overwhelmed. It overwhelms me because it doesn't matter what I've passed through, because whatever I've passed through, it's already gone now. I'm looking forward for my future.
Chess is her ticket out. From the slums, from the 10-by-10 hut she calls home that she shares with her mother and siblings. And if she can escape, she can lead others to follow her path.
I feel she's a source of hope. Many children go through the same life she's been in, but I think seeing her breaking that chain, I think it's more like an inspirational story for them. And I've always encouraged the children, told them no excuses whatsoever. With God, everything is possible. The sky is the limit.
To be African is to be an underdog in the world. To be Ugandan is to be an underdog in Africa. To be from Katwe is to be an underdog in Uganda. And to be a girl is to be an underdog in Katwe. And yet, in Katwe, the unlikeliest place of all, the Queen stands tall.
CBN 애니메이션 슈퍼북이 웨일스까지 진출해 학생들을 만나고 있다고 하네요. 오늘의 마지막 소식입니다.
CBN has partnered with Sporting Marvels, a Welsh team that tells students about Jesus. Since January of 2015, students have been using curriculum with Superbook's design and content. It's taught in 17 schools and covers Old and New Testament heroes, as well as how to live as a Christian. Thanks to Superbook, 2,000 children have been taught, and over 1,000 children's Bibles have been handed out to build each child's faith in Jesus Christ.
오늘 준비한 소식은 여기까지입니다. 저는 다음 주에 다시 찾아오겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.